Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Today we're hopping back into our life because we gotta make it through eventually. Uh, so I figured take a break from Danganronpa, hop into this, play a few other games, and then we'll hop back into that. But for now, let's just get into this. Everything pulled up. I hadn't hopped into the game yet. Uh, we're gonna do Escapade today, and then after we get soiree done, I'll probably do these four on a live stream and then post that. Just because I can do that a little longer than I can do this. So, Escapade. Ugh. Ooh. Sorry, my throat died for a second. You looked up, noticing the sun was finally setting. You had been trying to delay the end of the day for as long as possible. The evening breeze tickled your nose as you sat on your front porch munching on the fresh watermelon slices. Snack made you happy? You thought watermelon was okay? You were eating it because watermelon was a summer tradition? You weren't even sure why you were eating it. I love watermelon. Watermelon? Delicious. You picked up another slice. Even though you already had dinner, you were still delighted to make room for watermelon. Sometime later, you felt eyes on you, still munching on watermelon. You tilted your head, leaned back to see Elizabeth standing in the doorframe.
Hey.
Hello? Mumble a response while chewing. You didn't respond to her. We'll say hi. We're gonna be nice. Wiping your mouth and chin, you sat with the back of your hand. You turn where you sat to face Elizabeth. What are you what are you even doing all the way out here, hiding from cleanup duty? No, you shrugged. Yep. Is that why you're out here? No. Psh. I just wanted to be outside. She smirked. Well, that's why I'm here. That revelation didn't surprise you. Picking up your plate of watermelon slices, you held it out to her. Want to join me? Elizabeth plucked a slice off the plate and stayed there a while, eating in comfortable silence with you. It was only when she was confident that you couldn't hear the clinking of pots and pans begin being washed and put away anymore that Elizabeth tried making the dash to her room. Not long later, you spotted a familiar face walking up the street. Your next door neighbor. He felt your eyes on him. Cove met your gaze immediately. Hey, want a piece? Cove stopped in the middle of the street. He looked surprised, but also like he was considering your offer. Going once? You held the plate so he could see there was still plenty to share. He shook his head. Going twice? No thanks, I'm heading home. You're lost. He just continued on his way, but suddenly Cove stopped and spun around on his heels. What happened? I thought I felt something. Like a bug? He tilted his head back and looked upwards. No, I think it was a raindrop. The sun's still out. You put your watermelon slice. You put down your watermelon slice and hopped off your front step immediately. You felt a tap of water on the crown of your head, making you yelp. You're right. Cove was still staring up at the sky, and you watched as he began blinking more rapidly. When he finally turned your direction, his face was bemused. It's a sun shower. It seemed crazy, but soon you couldn't avoid the drops that began increasing to a lightly shower. Booming with laughter, Cove kicked off his shoes towards the front door and reveled in the moment. You were excited, you hid from the rain, you were annoyed with the sun sprinkle. We could run around in that rain. You closed your eyes and threw your head back, letting the rain shower over you. The cool drops felt so right after the warmth of the day. Feeling energized, you ran over to Cove and laughed at how soaked he already was. Not that he cared because he was busy spinning in the middle of the street. Spin faster! He complied. It was only when Cove started to slip and his laughter turned into hiccups that he dizzily stopped. Just as suddenly as the sprinkling started, it stopped, and left you dripping with the smell of wet asphalt and soil tickling your nose. Cove caught your eyes running, a hand through his wet hair combing it back. He frowned. It's over. The drops of rain clinging to his face almost could have been mistaken for tears. He sounded that disappointed. Well, it was fun. Wished it lasted longer. I've had enough rain for one summer day. I didn't have anything to say. I wish it was longer. Sitting there and playing in the rain, it's the fun times. Even just a few more minutes. And then a few more on top of that. He looked at you with such enthusiasm that you couldn't help but chuckle. You then looked over at your door and you sighed. You knew Mom wasn't going to be happy to see you trailing water into the house. Well, now that the sun shower was over, Cove seemed unsure what to do with himself. Night. Night, Cove. Go dry off. He smirked, retreating to his house. You decided to stand on your porch for a moment, weighing your options. You stayed outside to dry off. You went inside. We're going to try and dry off a little, not anger our parents. Sighing, you sat down, wondering how long it would take before you'd be dry enough to go inside without getting in trouble. You weren't sure how much time had passed when a sudden noise pulled you out of a daydream. Across the street, you saw Kira and Cove leaving the house. Right away, their eyes went to you. Hey, Ari, what are you up to? Waiting until I'm dry enough to go inside. I'm taking Cove to a drive to air dry. Would you want to come? It'll be more fun than sitting around. I'll ask your moms, of course. Yeah, let's do it. You weren't sure about her suggestion. I don't know, my parents would want me to. Let's go. It sounds like fun. Fun. This'll be good. Kira pulled out her cell phone from her pocket to call your moms. They had swapped numbers earlier in the summer. Head on out to the garage. I'll meet you there in just a minute. As you got up and made your way across the road, Cove waved. Sorry, my mom can be so pushy. She gets some idea in her head that's what she does. That's okay. Thanks for letting me come. I didn't do anything. That's true, but still, you had felt like you should say something. Come on. Cove led you to the car and Kira wasn't far behind. Okay, into the back, you two. Once the three of you were situated inside, Kira started it and drove off the residential area. When she hit the main road, the car sped up and she rolled the back windows down all the way. Hey! Cove started laughing as he kept trying in vain to keep his hair from flying into his eyes so much. Meanwhile, you closed your eyes as the wind whipped against your wet clothes. I said the drive was going to be good for getting air dried. Yeah, but I didn't agree to this much air. Cove tried pressing the window button, but nothing happened. His eyebrows furrowed in frustration. You disabled the back? Sorry, I can't hear you. Smiling devilishly, Kira turned on the radio and turned it up to be heard over the wind. You laughed and enjoyed the event. You jokingly complained of the situation. You were not a fan of this stunt. You danced in your seat to the music. We're gonna laugh because that's kind of funny. You yelled into the wind and burst into laughter. Looking over at Cove, you saw him relax. He seemed glad that you were having fun. And then something struck the side of your leg. Several papers were freed from under the car seat and were blown about. Oh, they can't get out the window. Cove began to haphazardly reach around the space and try to get back all under wraps. Amused, you helped. You helped frantically. You watched him struggle, entertained. We're gonna help. It's funny. We're gonna help. Kira offered no response other than a chuckle. She kept driving. Cove snatched several of the papers out of the air and you caught others, preventing most of them from flying out the windows on your side. You showed Cove the collection while grinning widely. Look at how many we saved. You figured that they were sitting out in the back of the car. They couldn't be important enough to get upset over, but Cove continued looking annoyed. Your smile started to slip out, his expression softened. You did good. Thanks for helping. The sun set completely, and Kira rolled up the windows. Cove let out a big sigh and released the random bits of paper he had in his fist. My mom is crazy. He ran a hand through his windblown hair and laughed with a bit of exasperation. You felt good. You didn't know what was happening anymore. You were fed up. It's good. We've had a good day. The evening had really turned out to be more interesting than you expected. Grinning, you were happy with your odds with whatever else happened next. Cove watched you with interest until his focus was taken by a new comment from his mom. I bet you're not feeling damp anymore. No, but now I feel tricked. You sided with Cove. Kira, we're going to stay quiet. This is not our fight. You shook your head and looked out the window. Kira continued driving. The radio volume was adjusted for the closed windows and everyone was sitting more comfortably. Kira lowered the sound even more after pulling into a red light. She took a chance to turn around and you caught her coy smirk. Does he know what we drove past during the dry cycle? No. A movie theater. Okay, most places have one somewhere. It isn't that late. You know, we can probably still catch a show. Really, Mom? We don't even know what'd be playing. That's what makes it fun. I want to see a movie. I'm not sure about it. No way. That's not fun. Heck yeah. Aren't my moms expecting me back soon? Movie, movie, movie. Both of you? He seemed hesitant. You gave him a smile, and Cove eased up a bit. Ah, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating impulsive behavior every day, but it's important to seize the moment when you can. We might never have another night like this. And don't worry, Ari. I said I'd watch over you for the night, not just 10 minutes or so. I'll put your parents in the loop about hitting the movies as soon as we get there. I didn't bring any shoes. You should always bring shoes when you're going out. I'm not wearing any either. Doesn't matter. Okay, I'm that person. I never wear shoes when I go outside. Like, my mom's been like, "Did you not wear shoes when you took out the trash?" I'm like, "Nope, I did not." And even like people are like, "Why aren't you wearing shoes? You're outside." I don't like shoes. I wear them because I have to. You lifted your foot up and wiggled your toes so Cove could see. How are we gonna go inside barefoot? I don't know. We can't. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. We'll sneak through quick. No one will notice. You can do it just this once. You bounced in your seat, excited that it was actually going to happen. Kira was right. You never got to do stuff like this. Kira drove into the theater parking lot and shut the engine off. With the unbuckling of her seatbelt, she ushered you and Cove out. Despite being hesitant to leave, once outside, Cove burst into a sprint towards the cinema. You were right along with him. The tarmac was still wet from before and cold to stand on with bare feet. Inside, you noticed there were no lines, and all the current shows had already started. Kira paid that no mind and strode up towards the counter with some words of encouragement. A third, a third of the running time is ads these days. We haven't missed anything. Meanwhile, Cove stood next to you awkwardly. He shifted from one foot to the other and constantly kept looking around. His shady behavior would have made him much more likely to get caught than standing still would have, if there were people around to notice. It was pretty goofy. Still, you consoled him, you teased him over it, you complained with him, you kept quiet. We're gonna console him. He needs some help. You poked Cove's arm to get his attention. If only they sold shoes at concession stand. Yeah, I wish. Yeah, that would have been too convenient, but we'll get through it. His expression softened into an appeased smile. Eliciting a sigh of relief out of you, Kira returned with the tickets in hand. She quickly herded you and Cove towards the showing room. I'm so sorry for the little hiccup, but hold on, we've almost made it home free. Once we sit down, we'll be smooth sailing. The lights were already off in the showing room, but the movie hadn't started yet. The upcoming movie trailers were still playing. Yes! Keeping her volume in a hushed tone, Kira couldn't help but burst with excitement over your luck. You followed her down the walkway until she spotted an open seat in the middle-ish area of the theater. Kira pointed at the seats, looking over her shoulder at you and Cove, waiting for input. Cove nodded, and you decided to give her a thumbs up as she led the way. When you reached your seats, Kira sighed contentedly. Cove gave a sigh of his own and lifted his feet to sit cross-legged instead of keeping them down on the floor. He leaned over and whispered to you, I'm really sorry you got roped into all of this. Cove sank back into his seat before you had a chance to respond. After a couple more previews, the main event began. It dawned on you quickly that this was a horror film. What about a group of students being haunted by dangerous ghosts? You were psyched? You could live with that? You thought this was going to be annoying? You became nervous? You were terrified? You couldn't do this. You had to leave. At this age, I would have been nervous. It might get too loud for you. I struggled with finding films. It was one thing to see a movie you knew nothing about, but a horror movie? That was an entirely different story, and it was eating at you that you had no idea what kind of scary you should be bracing for. Glancing over at Cove, you noticed that he looked less than thrilled with the movie. He bit down on his bottom lip and stared at the screen with trembling eyes. Cove had never been a fan of ghosts or intentionally frightening things. That was something you learned about him early on. You were too nervous to even move. Cove took a second peek at you out of the corner of his eyes. He watched you with an unspoken question written all over his face. Will you be okay? You shook your head no. We nodded yes. We're not going to ruin this. He simply nodded in return. You were both in for the long haul. Sometimes the other people in the theater screamed or jeered or clapped depending on what was happening. Your heart was pounding in your chest when the movie finally came to an end. The main character resolved the haunting, but in a dark conclusion, they didn't make it out alive. You stayed to let the credits roll and for the theater to clear out. Then it was time to head back to the car. Both you and Cove took the same seats in the back of the car again. Even though it was late, Kira was exudingly optimistic energy. We survived it. Your nerves were still calming down from the movie. Cove gave you a worried glance and then a hard look at his mom. A movie was ever going to kill us. It was going to make us unhappy. She deflated a little at the chest thing. Sorry, gang, I didn't know it'd be that bad. It made me really tense. I guess that's the point of horror stuff, but I kind of don't want to have to feel like that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not for everybody. Speaking of Ari, how are you feeling? Scared me. Hated it. It wasn't as bad as I thought. It was scary, but I had fun. You shrugged. It wasn't as bad as we thought. Every time I watched a horror movie, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Kira smiled a little more at that. I'm glad. I still can't believe they died. It's nice when things aren't all obvious and you don't really know how it'll end until you see it, but I wanted it to go better. I demand a happier ending. I love how it all fell apart when it seemed like things were going to be okay. I saw it coming, along with Cove saying it. It was so lame. I like a twist ending. I won't lie. I thought it fit with what they were going for. That's true. You and Cove spent the rest of the car ride absorbed in conversation about the movie. So who's hungry? You were surprised when you realized Kira didn't drive you home, but to a drive-through burger restaurant instead. I'm not hungry. You shook your head. Yeah, you nodded. Why not? Why not? We've already run in the rain, got abducted for a car ride and caught papers, went to a horror movie with no shoes. Why not a burger on top of it? That's the spirit. Get whatever you want. I want chicken sandwich, spicy. I love spicy chicken sandwich. Milk shake. French fries. I always get a soda and a drink and a shake. Don't judge me. Let's also get some mozzarella sticks. That's everything. Is that alright? It's a-okay. Cove was tickled by the size of your list and had no disapproval over it. Kara pulled up to the window and ordered what you asked for first. She then decided to order one of everything on the value menu. Whoa, what are you gonna do with all of that? Eat it? Really? The whole menu? Even after Ari picked most of that already? That's right. There are only maybe 10 things on it, and they're about $1 each. I can swing it, and besides, whatever we don't finish, I'm gonna feed to your dad. He'll be in heaven. Ko sighed affectionately at his mother's antics. Thank you. You're quite welcome. A few minutes later, Kira exchanged her money for multiple bags of food, which she quickly tossed to you both in the back seat. She then drove off into the night. Can you pass me something? What should I grab? Surprise me. You choose one of the wrap sandwiches and handed it to her. You had no idea if it was a burger or something else. Thank you very much. Accepting that this was what was happening, Cove shrugged and started pulling food out of the bag for himself. Cove ended up with some onion rings and happily munched on them. You selected something randomly. You made sure to grab something I liked. Me. You weren't even questioning Kara's crazy ride anymore. The adventure continued, and you were so preoccupied in the back, you almost didn't realize that the car had stopped. Kara turned, looked over her shoulder. Okay, party people, it seems we've reached the end of the road. Confused, you checked out the window and saw nothing except empty road ahead. And then you noticed the now leaving sign. Kara took you through the entire town. What are we doing here? Kara turned the car around and parked it alongside the road. I think you both could use a break to stretch your legs. I doubt anyone is going to come through here this time of night. Besides, I need to make a call. So go on. Cove shook his head and got out of the car without a fight. You stayed in the car. We follow Cove. Get out, stretch our legs. Fun time. You got out and caught up to Cove. He was busy looking at the stars and stretching his arms while he strolled around. You thought being there was exciting. Being there was pretty cool in your mind. You didn't care at all. You felt worried. You were mad. You felt tired. It's pretty cool. This was a good place to stop. If she was gonna take us all around town, at least it wasn't done halfway. Ugh. Ko smiled, glancing from the stars to you. Shortly after, you noticed Ko's expression changed. His eyebrows furrowed. It seemed like he was thinking hard about what he wanted to say next.
I'm so sorry.
Ari, I'm really sorry for my mom being crazy tonight. She isn't always like this, seriously. You mean she doesn't kidnap the neighbors all the time? Co snorted briefly before going serious once more. I think she feels like she has to get out there and do things with me while she can, and she wants to make the time memorable. This visit has been really different than the others, and it didn't start off good. Thinking about how Kira's trip began this summer, you could understand why Cove was thinking along those lines. You probably wanted all the trouble to be worth it in the end. Are you having a good time with your mom around? Okay, I get it. She shouldn't have made me part of it. You're not understanding. She gives you a taste of your own medicine. You said nothing. Let's ask if he's having a good time. Yeah, still weird having her and dad in the same house, but I love her. She's my mom. I like hanging out with her most of the time. It went silent between you both, so you jumped when you heard the sound of a car door closing. Cove, Airy, you turned to see Kira by the driver's side waving. Sight brought a smile to Cove's face, and she quickly made her way over to where you both were standing. Thanks for waiting. I didn't mind. How did I end up with such a polite boy? She ruffled his hair, and Cove lowered his head, accepting the compliment. You thought about how interesting it was to see how Cove interacted with his mom. And then the memory hit you. That first summer, Cove ran away to this very spot trying to find his way back to his mom. And now, here they were together. You kept that thought yourself? You whispered about it to Cove. We're gonna embarrass him. Hey, Cove, is this where you went trying to see her when you moved to Sunset Burton? Do you remember? What does that mean? Cove gaped at you, and it became clear that his mom hadn't known about that adventure. You came here to see me? His eyes grew large as the words fully sunk in. I heard you wanted to visit, but no one ever said you actually tried to do it on your own. Never mind you made it all the way through the entire town. Cove hung his head in shame. Even in the dark, there's no mistaking how red his face was burning. Aw, it's alright, little man. She started rubbing his back soothingly. It's definitely too late to punish you for it. I'm just glad you ended up being fine. This is an impressive distance for such a tiny guy to travel. While Kira spoke to him positively, there still seemed to be something sad in her tone. I hope you never felt like you have to run away again. I don't want to run anymore, I don't worry. She offered him a small smile. You laughed. You felt extremely embarrassed. You apologized to Cove. You didn't feel like it was a big deal. Just laughed. He sighed in a light exasperation. Carol added a big breath of air. We should probably call it a night, huh? Yes, let's go finally. You shrugged. You felt disappointed it was actually over. Just shrug. As a part of you was surprised Kira was finally throwing in the towel. Kira shyly smiled and gestured to the car. Quietly, you all made your way back to it. This time, Cove got in the front passenger seat while you crawled into the back with the collection of fast food bags still strewn about. As the car roared to life, you leaned your head back into the seat, your thoughts quieting as your eyelids grew heavy. You felt content? You ready to go home? You felt that tonight was one very strange event. Content. Tonight hadn't been anywhere near what you... Can we not? Tonight hadn't been anywhere near what you expected when you had been sitting on your front step, but you were happy with the turn of events. When you opened your eyes, you expected to still be in the car, not your bedroom. It was somehow already morning. You couldn't remember how you ended up there. Sitting up in bed, you thought about how last night was quiet in experience. It almost felt like a dream more than a real event, but it definitely happened, and you were glad that you got to have a spontaneous escape this summer. That was probably the short one, because I know with these ones, like, 4 of them are really long, and then one of them tends to be shorter. That's just something I noticed. We're gonna hit save, and we're gonna call that there, guys, because I do not want to bore y'all with the hours I will sit here and play this game, because I have and I will. I almost played this entire game in one night. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and if you did, remember to hit like and subscribe, and I hope y'all had a great day. Bye bye.